What is up, you beautiful viewers? My name is Kevin Boudreaux, aka Woke One. I'm an artist from Connecticut, and today we're going to talk a little bit about composition. Now, if you're typically here for my graffiti, my paintings, all that, don't worry, even though this is on tattooing, I also want to go over a bit of my drawing process and when clients email, how to kind of decipher exactly what they want and basically take their idea and create their vision onto paper. And in this video, it's going to go into skin. So the first thing I want to do is share with you guys the email that was sent over to me from my client, Cliff. He says, I want Kevin to maintain his artistic freedom. I trust his work / designs very much. The main concept is a happy raccoon and hummingbird on a picnic outdoors. The main ideas / elements that I'd love to see incorporated. He says, raccoon holding / eating corn on the cob, hummingbird drinking out of a Coca-Cola can, other elements that have some meaning and could fit the aesthetic if they spark some inspiration. Fried green tomatoes, red tomatoes, maybe on a vine, cantaloupe / melon, strawberry, maybe with some chocolate, flowers, plants. Now, I love this. There's a lot of ideas going on, which I don't want to be overwhelmed with, but I saw that the main idea is a raccoon and a hummingbird having a picnic. So we're going to focus on that, and the other things just become added elements. And it seems like he's pretty open, so if not everything fits, then it's okay. We don't want to clutter the design. We want to make sure everything has nice breathing room. It looks nice, and that's why we're here talking about composition. Now that we have our main idea and added elements, we can go hit the drawing board. Welcome to my back patio. This is where I tend to feel comfortable drawing, especially when the weather's nice at least. So I want to point out that I'm starting with some nice large paper and a blue pencil. That's not necessary. It's good to know if you draw on smaller paper, you're using your wrist, or if you like to draw on larger paper like myself, I like to make large fluent motions with my arm. So you could also see that I'm going to point out the fact that I hold my pencil a little different when I'm sketching something as opposed to when I'm doing tighter details. And you'll see the shift later on. I'll point it out. But let's get into this drawing now. I always start with large loose shapes just to kind of figure out where the characters are going to go, how they're going to interact. So very, very loose gestural drawing. I don't try to take too much time on this portion, just create like a nice flow around the paper. So you can see the raccoon is kind of starting to take some shape. I just put the hummingbird in, again, very, very loosely. Now I can start, this is what I was talking about earlier. You could see that I switched the way I'm holding the pencil. So I'm kind of just fine tuning a little more of the features at this point. I'll also point out that I went in with a slightly darker pencil. So I like to sketch lighter, obviously, and then just kind of darken the features as I go to give it a little more definition. If you guys have seen my other drawing demonstration that I did, I will put that up on the screen now. If you guys haven't checked that one out, be sure to, because I talk a little bit about expression and making sure that you're conveying kind of a story. So he did want a happy raccoon, so that's very important to make sure that you're focusing on what kind of expression the mouth is making, the eyes, the eyebrows look slightly lifted, like he's excited and happy holding onto that corn on the cob. All of these tiny details help to illustrate the story. I'm not sure if I mentioned yet, but this is actually going to be a full sleeve. So when I heard that there were only 2 characters, I was very happy because I wanted this thing to read across a room. I thought it would be really nice to see one whole character, being the raccoon, take up the entire outside of the arm, and the hummingbird is going to land on the inner forearm. In the drawing video that I mentioned earlier that's on my YouTube, I discuss a 70 to 30% rule where I have applied to this drawing. I have the raccoon being the 70% of the composition and the hummingbird being the 30%. So I always like to have something large interacting with something a little smaller. It's just kind of a nice rule of thumb that lends itself to having a nice, pleasing overall layout to it. And since Enzo has been waiting so patiently, it's finally time to play and take a quick break. Break time over. Now that I've got my rough concept all mapped out on the paper, I'm going to photograph it and then put it into my iPad and fine tune everything. To lay this sleeve out, I'm first going to draw a grid of the arm. You could see that on the top portion, the left and right side flare out a little bit, and then it bends into the elbow and then flares out again for the bottom section. This helps me visualize how the image will lay on the outside of the arm, and also helps me see where the hummingbird will fit on the lower section. I haven't mapped out the upper inner because I'm not really sure where the tail is going to go and what's going to go on the upper inside yet. To do this portion, I'm using the technical pen under inking in Procreate, and one of the main things that I'm taking into consideration is just making sure that your eyes move around the image and that it's pleasing to look at and there's a nice flow that just goes throughout the entire piece. At this point, I've also brought other references into the design so that I can use them and just kind of fine tune and change them up a little bit, but use them to kind of just map out the shapes of the objects. Shapes can help in a huge way to lead your eye around the canvas. One of the shapes that is often used in art is the triangle. It just kind of helps you go from point to point, and I'm going to show you exactly how I use that now. You can see there's a rough triangular shape with the interaction of the raccoon's head with the left and right arm as it's eating the corn on the cob. I've also mapped out another triangular shape for the lower portion where the hummingbird will be interacting with the Coke and the legs of the raccoon. Balance and repetition are another huge part of a good composition. You could see that while the raccoon is enjoying his corn on the cob, the hummingbird is enjoying the can of Coke. Now I'm assuming that when this is placed as a stencil, the corn on the cob and the Coca-Cola can will be placed down the center of the outside of the arm. The characters will be the main focal point, but you will also be drawn to the corn on the cob and the Coca-Cola can. The rest of the items will just become background. When I'm placing the background items, I'm trying to make sure that there's a lot of breathing room so that the piece does not look very cluttered overall. You could also see that I use the triangle method one more time to lead your eyes around with the background items. At this point, it's time to use the airbrush tool and shade in the character. Now, I'm not going to go too crazy coloring every single thing in, especially because I already have reference photos of a lot of the objects fully colored. This is more so to give the client a little view of a more three-dimensional version of my character so it doesn't come off so flat. From there, I can present it to the client and see what they're thinking as far as colors, and if it all works out and it's good to go, we put it in the skin. Now, I'm not going to go over a whole lot of the tattoo portion, but I do want to talk about the layout and where I place things and how everything just went as a whole. Some of you also may be wondering why Cliff decided to go with this idea. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of details because tattoos are very personal. This was a memorial piece for his mother who passed, and I will say some weird stuff happens while I'm tattooing people, and one of the only dates that we had to offer Cliff was actually his mother's birthday for the very first session. So I just thought that was something cool. If you guys believe in a higher whatever, something happened. It was meant to be. So it was definitely a cool way to kick this sleeve off. As far as the raccoon goes, I did find out that Cliff actually had a raccoon as a child. I believe the name was Buster. I may have that wrong. Cliff, if I do, please let me know. I'm sorry. And yeah, as far as the hummingbird, I have no idea. I didn't ask, and I'm not sure about the foods, but again, that's for Cliff. That's his personal memories tied to this sleeve. And on that note, I also want to say that if you are thinking about getting a memorial piece, I think this is a great idea. Something happy, joyful. Don't remember that the person has passed. Remember a good moment, a good time that you had with that person, and make that come to life in a tattoo form. Okay, now it's time for me to show you how all these sessions came together to create one final sleeve. Here's session one, and I had never tattooed Cliff before, so I kind of had to see how well he would sit. Turns out Cliff sits amazingly, which is great news because Cliff actually lives in Colorado and was flying to me in Connecticut, so eventually we were able to do 2-day sessions. All right, so this is the game plan for the next 2 days is to get this lower portion done here. We did the Coke can and then rotate for me and the hummingbird last time. Today we're going to add some melon. We're going to have a strawberry. And yeah, tomorrow we're going to hopefully start attacking the top of the arm. So game plan for today. Day one, this is what we got done. Let me see the strawberry if you're able to. Yep, and then go back the other way. Awesome. And then let me see the front. Yeah, perfect. Day one, all wrapped around. Day two went awesome. We got a lot of the top done. This was technically the third session total. So we were able to complete the raccoon and the corn on the cob. The only thing left for the next session was going to be some of the background on the upper outer part of the arm, as well as the upper inner part of the arm. And here's the game plan mapped out for the upper outer arm that I markered on. It's not tattooed yet. I also markered on the inner upper arm as well, and eventually discussed a plan for his hand, which we decided would be a slice of cheesecake with raspberries. just a couple white highlights away from being complete and having an entire full sleeve. And here it is, the final product. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Cliff, thank you so much for the dedication, for traveling. In total, that was 5 sessions of about 5 to 7 hours each time. Cliff actually started his other sleeve with me as well, so we got that in the works. If you guys want to keep up with all my tattoo work, be sure to follow my personal Instagram page. That's just my name, Kevin Boudreau, with an underscore after it. If you want to support me more, I also have this new sticker pack 3 that dropped. You get this sticker and all the ones on the back in the pack. And I also just dropped some new t-shirts. So I have the Signature Woke t-shirt and I have the Wendy's t-shirt, which is the Wendy's logo with my version of Wendy from The Shining. So you guys can go ahead and find those at kbuart.com. Thank you so much, guys. Also, if you want to keep up with all the new stuff, I always post it on my Patreon, which is just woke.one. So find me there as well. I'll catch you guys on the next one.